Alright, this is a quick recording to capture some of the key changes through the changes in IDA 2004 regarding the IEP and excusal of team members or amending the IEP without a meeting. So here are the regulations where these allowances are afforded to us. So up here, this is for when an IEP team member, excluding an IEP team member from attending an IEP meeting in whole or in part. And here's the regulatory language. So it says any member of the IEP team described in paragraph A2 through A5 of this section is not required to attend the IEP meeting in whole or in part if the parent of the child with a disability and the public agency agree in writing that the attendance of the member is not necessary. And so I'm going to skip down. You can read the rest of this for the context, additional context. But down here is amending an IEP without a meeting. So this is where a written agreement is made. In making changes to the child's IEP after the annual IEP meeting for a school year, the parent of the child with a disability and the public agency may agree not to convene an IEP meeting for the purposes of making those changes and instead may develop a written document to amend or modify the child's current IEP. So again, read this information for the additional context to this federal regulation right here. Okay. Now we're going to skip over to the written agreement form. This is the sample form on the Department of Education website. It'll give you some context of probably what your form looks like in your district IEP system. So in here we have the student information. This is a written agreement between parent and district. So student information in here. This is important. This authorizes the district staff. It's where the district staff signs off documents that they've explained to the parent that he or she is not required to written into any of these agreements. So this is voluntary on both parties' part. The parent has to agree to this and the district. So this number one is for a 3-year reeval. The district and the parent can agree not to conduct a reeval, and here's where each of them would sign off. This is an IEP attendance not required. The content area of the excused members is not discussed at the meeting. So the district and the parent can agree that, like a language arts teacher doesn't need to attend because they're only going to discuss math, would be an example. Content area math. Here's another example. Content area of excused members discussed at meeting. The district and parent agree that the following members of the IEP team may be excused from attending the IEP meeting on given date in whole or in part when the meeting involves the modification to or discussions of members' area of the curriculum or related service. If the member submits in writing to the team input into the IEP before the meeting. So whomever's being excused from attending has to submit in writing their thoughts before the meeting. Okay, and I think the last couple down here, revision to the IEP other than an annual IEP meeting. So this we can't waive the annual IEP meeting in whole through this written agreement. Those meetings have to occur. But if there is going to be amendments to the IEP in between the annual IEP meeting, this would be an optional way to do it. And down here, completion of the evaluation or transfer student. Here's another written agreement option. And then completion of an evaluation for SLD. The student is being evaluated for eligibility in areas of SLD. The parent and the other members of the eligibility team agree that more time is needed to complete the evaluation. Okay, and then there's the date. So this is the form. So we have 5 different options on how to use the written agreement flexibility within IDA. So now what we're going to do is take a look at I pasted some the public commentary of IDA on written agreement into excuse me, I'm trying to resize my screen here. So, all right, a little technical glitch there. I resized my screen, so here we go. So into a spreadsheet here, we have the public commentary that's on IEP team attendance. So how this is set up is we have comments in yellow, and then I put in bold or red the actual discussion points, which would be the discussion that OSEP is providing in response to the comments. Okay. And so the red area or font or highlight or font is something I'm drawing your attention to. So this says Section 614, yada yada, of the Act allows a parent of a child with a disability and an LEA to agree that the attendance of the IEP member at an IEP meeting in whole or in part is not necessary under certain conditions. Allowing IEP members to be excused from attending the IEP meeting is intended to provide additional flexibility to parents in scheduling IEP meetings and avoid delay in holding the IEP meeting when an IEP member cannot attend due to scheduling conflict. So this isn't only a create flexibility for districts, it will also create flexibility for parents. Parents are busy, they want to get this going, parents don't want to be held up by calendar delays, so this gives them an option on how to move this forward and do the written agreement. So moving down, again, more discussion points. If the members' area is not being modified or discussed, consistent with Section 614 of the Act, provides a member may be excused from the meeting if the parent and LEA agree in writing that the member's attendance is not necessary. An agreement is not the same as consent, but instead refers to an understanding between the parent and the LEA. So moving farther down, here again additional discussion. An LEA may not routinely or unilaterally excuse IEP members from attending IEP meetings as a parent agreement or consent is required in each instance. We encourage LEAs to carefully consider, based off the individual needs of the child and the issues the issues that need to be addressed at the IEP meeting, whether it makes sense to offer to hold the IEP meeting without a parent participation, hold an IEP meeting without a particular IEP member in attendance, or whether it would be better to reschedule the meeting so that a person could attend and participate in discussion. However, we do not believe the additional regulations of the subject are warranted. An LEA that routinely excuses IEP members from attending IEP meetings would not be in compliance with the requirement of the Act, and therefore would be subject to the state's monitoring and enforcement provisions. So, I mean, basically what this is, my takeaway from this comment is if we use this, the written agreement for the right reasons, we'll be fine. But if we use this as a just ongoing more of a practice across all of our IEPs, that would be a red flag. So moving farther down here, the excusal from the IEP meetings in subsection 300.321 apply to regular ed teachers who is part of the IEP team by virtue of the fact that the child without the disability is participating or may be participating in a regular education environment. So down here I added a little note, see the red text. The written agreement in advance of the meeting is an important protection for the district. The written agreement will eliminate possible perceptions of predetermined placement made by the district without parent involvement. So that's just an important note there to think about when you're reading that comment. And down in here, this is a good one. So up in here, this is the actual comment says, some commenters recommended that the regulations provide an opportunity for the parents to challenge a public agency's attempt to exclude staff members who believe their attendance is necessary at an IEP meeting. Down here in the discussion, we decline to make the changes requested by the commenters because it would be inconsistent with Section 614 of the Act to set the limit on the number of times an IEP members could be excused.